and it fits. So downpipe is in. I got it fully clamped down on the V-band. You guys won't be able to see down there, but way back down there, it's basically lined up with the OEM flange for the second cap pipe. It's sagging because of the flex pipe that's in there. I'm going to relocate the coolant lines on this turbo to the front, I believe, or at least one of them, so that there's more room back here, so I don't have to modify this so much. I figured out what size the intake is, or the inlet is, so I can work on that. So now it's just a couple hours of welding this. While I'm letting that cool down in between, I'll work on the intake pipe and clocking the turbo so that it sits where I need it. Then once the downpipe is done, I can work on making myself a oil drain line to hook up to the OEM hose down there. Should be easy, just gonna go straight down and then cut a 90 over, and that'll work fine. It's gonna drain downward. Then finish the intake stuff, and then start working on the intercooler stuff, which the intercooler stuff is actually gonna be harder than some of the exhaust stuff, just because of how complex the bends are and things like that, which means I need to put the radiator back in. But making solid progress, so I'm gonna go ahead and weld that up, and you guys will see it when it's done. Alright, so wastegate is all customized and stuff, so just to show you that it works. So it's like 10 pounds it starts opening up, so that's its cracking pressure. But been modified so that we can rotate the turbo downward so it's at a better angle. So that is killer. It's all working good. I'll pretty it up before I send the car out. Now we have to make an adapter to go from here to here. I'll just make that out of a couple of pieces of aluminum. So we're going from that to that. All right, so I did this on this particular design because I want Tori to have the option of if he ever needs to get rid of the AEM intake for some reason, or wants to switch to a different style intake, or he picks up a sponsor for a different intake, he has the option to do that. So this fits exactly where the OEM intake goes. That's how that's looking. So we're making some really, really good progress. I'm finishing up welding the downpipe. Just have some of the pie cut. I just have to finish up some of the pie cuts, welding around that, and then put an oxygen sensor bung on there too. And that'll be that. So once the downpipe's on there, I can start working on this crossover pipe here. I then have to figure out a way to run the vacuum line from the OEM diverter valve over to the diverter valve that's built into the BorgWarner turbo. Again, awesome feature in that turbo. Once I figure that out, I gotta figure out plumbing for the cooling system and for the oil drain line. Oil drain line is gonna be fairly easy, so I'm not really gonna sweat about that, but this is coming along very quickly. Alright, so downpipe is all done. We got our O2 sensor bung welded in there. This car is going to be on a standalone ECU, so we only need one bung to run a wideband air fuel sensor. For me to test fire this and everything, I'll put the OEM sensor back in there, but that is all done. Next step is to heat wrap, and while I was doing that, I also made this upper intercooler pipe. Yes, that is very big. That is a 3-inch pipe, so we adapt from the from the BorgWarner 2-inch up to that 3-inch as smooth as I could with transition pieces to a 3-inch pipe. Now, why are we running a 3-inch pipe? We're not all that concerned about air velocity. This is a very fast spooling turbo. It's not going to lag all that bad, but we need enough room in the system to flow some serious air. And that brings us to our intercooler. Now, our intercooler uses 3-inch inlet and outlets. I don't want to reduce that down until it goes through that intercooler. Once we come back up and around the intercooler to head back to the throttle body, we'll bring it back down to a 2.5 and bring it down into there, or we might even just keep it 3-inch all the way. But this is going to get a very built engine. This is probably going to get one of the higher horsepower engines that we've done. We are getting custom camshafts made up for this and the WTF Juke. We're getting custom valve springs set up for this, custom valves. So this engine is going to be out and rebuilt. It's going to make some serious power. So I need to make sure that we have enough piping diameter to flow that power. If we run, what I usually would run, which is like a 2.25 or 2.5 down here, we might run into a problem where the turbo is pushing more air through than the piping can actually flow. So we're going to avoid that problem with that. So next step, I'm going to heat wrap this down pipe, just so that that's all done. It's one less thing that I have to do. Then we are going to weld on inlet over here for the PCV system. I've also gone and done this wastegate. Wastegate is all modified and working. As you can see, it's fine. So that's all set. Now it's just a whole lot of plumbing up water lines, plumbing up oil lines, making oil drain lines and things like that. So I'll let you guys see the progress on that next time.